Lesson 70, Anahata Chakra. The center that never stops beating, or the incessantly beating. The heart chakra is the first chakra above the diaphragm. Below the diaphragm we have three chakras that contain the lower emotions and desires. The two chakras that follow contain the higher emotions and desires. Now, Ajita in the past used to say that if only 1% of all people in the world would meditate, there would be no war anymore. There would be no conflict anymore. The reason for that is that people who practice yoga in general, provided that it is done correctly, including meditation, they open the heart. Because proper practice leads to an open heart chakra. The heart chakra is the location of compassion, empathy, unconditional love. It is where the quality is located in people to show consideration. It is where you feel for people, especially when people are suffering. You feel that. So people who reach that level of development, they simply become incapable of causing harm. Now, why only 1% according to Ajita? Because if only 1 in 100 people practice yoga, leading to an open heart chakra, they influence the other people in your surroundings, in your family, in your work environment, in your yoga class, in your neighborhood, your apartment, wherever it is that you are. As a proof of this, or proof, I cannot show you proof, but in the Netherlands we have, I don't know if it still exists actually, it may have evolved, but before I came to Korea, as an evolution from the hippie time, there was a community as large as a whole village based on Zen philosophy. Close to Amsterdam, just about 30-40 kilometers from Amsterdam. The statistics show that crime rates are unusually low, not only inside the community, but also in the surroundings of that community. Which is kind of the point that Ajita made, saying that if only a number of people go through this development, it affects in a positive way society as a whole. Even people who are totally not interested in spirituality or yoga or any form at all. So it's quite significant, knowing the heart chakra, understanding the heart chakra, and of course the development that the heart chakra is stimulated. And it all sounds it may sound very mysterious, maybe even superficial, but something that already happens at the very beginning that you start practicing yoga. It is the reason why yoga practitioners in the early stages of their practice experience a temporary stage of emotional instability, increased sensitivity, being overly sensitive. That is an effect accompanied by the opening up of the heart chakra. So it's only a bit of opening up. The heart chakra doesn't open up with a bang. It's a very slow process, and it takes many, many years to fully open up, but it already starts in the very beginning of your yoga practice. The heart chakra, when you study spirituality, the talk is always about the crown chakra and the significance of the crown chakra, and I have done so too from the beginning of this course. But the heart chakra is just as important as the crown chakra, because the heart chakra is in fact the expression of the crown chakra. So they are inherently connected with each other. If you look at ancient illustrations of Buddhas and Christs, you invariably see them pictured symbolically with a ball of light around their head, a halo around their head, which is symbolism for the crown chakra. It indicates that you are looking at a person who has reached the highest levels of spiritual development, whose crown chakra is open. What you see much less is the image of a burning heart. But in Korea, when you enter the house of Catholic people, Christian people, my experience is that almost always they have a picture at the entrance of the house, a picture of Jesus Christ with a burning heart. And you see an illustration here, but the burning heart is often drawn even a bit more dramatic, with rays of light or flames coming from the heart. So that symbolism is just as significant as that of the halo around the head of a saint or a Christ or a Buddha, for that matter. It all comes down to the same. It's just a different geographical location, but the development of a Christ, a Buddha, a saint is all the same. Through discipline, meditation, reaching the highest levels of evolution the human being can reach by opening the crown chakra. But the heart is the expression of the crown chakra. That is why the heart is so important. And hence, Jesus Christ symbolically pictured with a burning heart. But a more contemporary example of a person with a functioning heart chakra or an open heart is, of course, the Mother Teresa phenomenon. The heart chakra symbolically has a secondary chakra. That secondary chakra is called Kalpataru. Kalpataru is the wishing tree, the tree of the wish, which means a human being can truly make wishes come true. How do you do that? That is a long story. Because a human being is very complex and very confusing in our functioning. Maybe you remember from when you were a child that you had dreams, you had wishes. They never came true because you became distracted, because of education, because of material concerns. But people with a heart, they fulfill those dreams. And it takes decades to fulfill, but they fulfill their dreams. There are always distractions, deviations, detours, but always coming back to the path that started already in early childhood. Why it is so difficult to fulfill wishes is because we have so many lower emotions and desires that pollute the process, that we cause a lot of disharmony on our road to fulfill wishes. What keeps us away from truly fulfilling wishes is, of course, fear, worries, doubts about the wish or the dream being realistic at all. Many people will tell you, if your parents learn about your dreams, if your teachers hear about your dreams, they will tell you, stop dreaming, focus on your study, get a diploma, and then get a job. That is realistic. Your dreams, that's just a dream. That's just a luxury. But dreams are in fact very powerful. If you have the courage and the patience to keep believing in them. And this is what makes fulfilling wishes so very difficult. It requires quality that most people do not have. It requires long-term vision. When you think of your dream, you know that this is not there is no magic lamp that you rub and you can make a wish and poof, it's there. Because in your wish, in your vision, you are very realistic and you know that it may take 30, 40, even 50 years to fulfill that wish. Everything you do along the way somehow is related to fulfilling that wish. Somehow is working towards fulfilling that wish, even though on the surface it doesn't look connected at all. That is one of the qualities of the heart chakra. In esoteric science, that is what magic is about. When you think of magic, you think of people who conjure up a rabbit from a hat. People who make things disappear in front of your eyes. But these are symbolisms of the past. Real magic has been polluted with the need to be entertained, but also a lot of symbolism, because real magic cannot be, how do you say that? When you perform. Real magic cannot be shown through a performance. Real magic cannot be cannot be demonstrated. That's the word I was looking for. Because real magic is sheer energy that needs to manifest. Now I'm going a little bit to the master course here, because there we studied esoteric science from Alice Bailey. But the first book that we studied is a treatise on white magic. And white magic is, in fact, using energy to manifest your dreams and your wishes. For me, going through that book, going through that study, it confirmed everything that I ever believed in since I was a child. And it solidified my resolve to keep going this way in spite of, regardless of the obstacles and challenges that were there. That's why I talk so often about obstacles and challenges. They're should not be avoided like most people instinctively do, but should be embraced, because it is the process of facing and overcoming the challenges and obstacles along the way that prepare us eventually for the manifestation of that wish 20, 30 years further down the road. It is the way of the universe. You can have a dream about being a pilot. Let me just give a very simple example, but that is practically easy to understand. You may dream about being a pilot. To become a pilot, there are many requirements. You have to have a high level of IQ, intelligence, because you have to understand the very complicated processes that make an airplane fly. Then you have to go through training. So, to make wishes come true, you go through training, but it's kind of comparable to the training that you need to go through to become a doctor or a pilot or whatever, but it's the training of daily life that prepares you. And only when you're ready, the universe will grant you the manifestation of your wish. It's a little bit a long story, but that is quality of the heart chakra, kalpataru. And wishes can come true. It's only that most of us simply do not have the courage, the patience, the long-term vision to understand the process that it takes to get there. So we go back to daily life based on short-term vision, based on short-term accomplishments, based on material aspects of life, which is of course important and necessary to deal with the instincts in the Muladhara chakra. But apart from that, apart from taking care of the basic necessities of life, don't stop dreaming. It is when you dream when you are the happiest. It is when you dream when you are in sattva. And it is in fact inherent part of your spiritual development, is that you will dare to dream again. You know, children, they can just stare at the wall or stare out of the window. And adults that do not understand that, they will punish children who are daydreaming. But when you daydream, you are in fact functioning in the crown chakra and you have visions of things. Most people growing up lose the ability to daydream because they're constantly being drawn back to the material world, the material reality. People who start practicing yoga correctly, meditating, or any form of spiritual practice that is correct, will become daydreamers again. And do not deny that to yourself. Cherish it. Because it will bring you back to that path of long-term vision. And although you need to live daily life in the material world and taking care of material necessities. The dream is what makes life worth living. Just compare it with this. Many people pursue a career, and for 40 years, until retirement, they will say, yeah, actually I really would like to do this. Actually, I really would like to do that. I will do it after retirement. For 40 years, they focus on their career. And when they're in their 60s or 70s, they finally find time to start working on their dreams, and often it's too late. Many people live with a hole in their heart. Materially, they have everything they need. They have a good career, good salary, nice house, car, family maybe, but something is lacking. What is lacking is this: to be allowed to dream. Often, because all our lives we have been told that it is foolish, childish even. Get back to the reality, you are being told. So spiritually we are killed because of this. So when you understand the heart chakra, you understand that this is an essential part of a human being that often is just being destroyed by parents and teachers that do not understand how this works. Okay, a little bit long story, a little bit deep, but let's have a little look at more practical issues. The subtle element of the chakra is air. The subtle vehicle of action of the chakra is grasp, grabbing with your hands. The organ of perception is the skin. You feel through the skin. The subtle energy is called Udana Prana, and the color is green. There is also a mantra, it's not so very important. The functions of the center are higher desires like love, but also hate, which is the opposite. Sympathy, empathy, vocation. Vocation is related to fulfilling dream or wishes. And of course, we know the center from being in love, and maybe even more of falling out of love when your heart is broken. Have you ever fallen in love? We have to talk about love because the heart is the center not just of love, but unconditional love, which is very different from the love that most people know. What happens when we fall in love is we are in heaven. Remember, if you have fallen in love, you walk on the clouds. You feel like you're in heaven. Only to soon after crash. When you fall in love, your energy is expanding like crazy. Naturally, spontaneously, opening the heart. That is why the heart is always connected with love stories and expressions that we have related to love involve the heart. So, because the heart is an expression of the crown chakra, you are in fact functioning in the crown chakra. You are high in seventh heaven. You experience a sense of paradise when you fall in love. But soon, your human characteristics kick in because you don't understand what is happening. You start behaving human again, and you become jealous. You become suspicious. You have expectations of your partner. You don't want your partner to wear certain clothes or to talk with certain people or to this or that. I want you to do this, I want you to drive the car, or I want you to clean the house. As soon as there are conditions, the condition of being in heaven just crashes down. And then the struggle starts. Most relationships end up in struggle, conflict. Love becomes hate. Unconditional love is the opposite of this. But it requires a very big heart. Because what is unconditional love? Unconditional love is that you love the person regardless. Regardless of what the person does, regardless of how the person dresses, regardless of with whom the person communicates. So unconditional love is without suspicion, without distrust. Unconditional love is without attachment. Can you do that? That's just not easy. But it becomes easier once you understand that the way you want to be treated, you need to treat other people as well. Unconditional love means to be able to let the other person go because you know that if you need to be able to go as well. You understand that? Sounds very paradoxical, doesn't it? I'm in a relationship, but because of past experiences, there is a very strong urge, a very strong drive in me to go to Korea. I'm in a relationship in the Netherlands. And my partner, every time the subject comes up, feels resistance. Feels that her plans to have a family and a future together are being sabotaged. Conflict occurs. The problem is, if I am not allowed to follow that deep and strong urge that is caused by karma from the past, that relationship will fail anyway, because it will kill my spirit and it will kill my happiness and it killed all my hair as well. In my mid-20s, I started losing my hair because I got stuck. I felt imprisoned. Those experiences are necessary because it makes you realize what is important. It makes you realize what you need to do to go forward and to find your happiness. Because when it happened subconsciously. You're just not aware of how you get stuck until you're deep stuck in it. So when I got really, really stuck, I had dropped out of yoga class with Ajita and dropped out of other important things that were designed to prepare to go to Korea. I called Ajita and I said, Ajita, I want to talk with you. I have a problem. So reluctantly he agreed to meet me, but he arranged it in such a way that it was just about 20 minutes before dinner. So he asked me to come to his house like 20 minutes before they usually have dinner. Because he doesn't like to talk about problems. So I went there. He led me in to small IKEA sofa, 2-seat IKEA sofa. He said, sit down. And he looked at me like that. He sat on my right side, I sat on the left side. He said, Ron, what's up? So I started talking about all my issues, about my brothers being alcoholics and drug addicted and killing themselves and so many things from my past. But within 30 seconds, he just shut me down. He said, Ron, wait. Stop talking about your problems. Stop talking about the past. He said, what do you want? So I said, I want to go to Korea. That was really an obsession for me that constantly got sabotaged because myself, my inability to push it through. So what do you want? I want to go to Korea. Then he asked, what do you need to do to go there? So I said, I need to finish my education with you. I need to finish my night school education, formal education, and I need to gather enough money to be able to stay there for at least 2 years. So he said, okay, so from now on, that's exactly what you are going to focus on. Stop not only talking about the past and problems and family and what have you. Focus on what you need to do. Every time you're bothered by such distractions, immediately withdraw your attention from these issues, go back and focus on, come back to my class, register again for the course, finish your school, and keep working to make enough money to be able to go. And from that moment on, that is exactly what I did, and in a very efficient way, within 2 years, I was here with a suitcase and some money in my pocket. What I'm trying to paint here is a picture of how complicated human being functioning is, especially because we are subconsciously constantly drawn back into the past experiences and other people's misery, especially when it comes to family. And to deal with that, Ajita didn't say meditate, or just believe in me. No, he approached it in a very practical way, very down-to-earth way. What do you need to do? Then go do that and focus only on that. Unconditional love, because that is what led to this anecdote, means that if you have a partner that clearly has a very strong need to accomplish something, to do something, rather than fighting against it because you feel it makes you move away from each other, stimulate your partner to actually focus on it, fulfill that goal. Can you do that? Can you say to your partner, okay, let's go to the travel agency, get you a ticket. I will even pay for a ticket. Then go and do what you need to do. I hope you will come back. But if not, it's also okay. Because I know that this is really important for you. That is unconditional love. Being able to let go of the one that you love the most. Parents know this because parents sooner or later will have to let their child go. Your child grows up and needs to fly out. That's very scary for a parent. But you need at some point to let your child go, unconditionally. They have to fly out and be able to make their own mistakes so that they can mature, evolve. And the same applies to being in love with somebody and allowing that person to be just themselves. It's not easy because of your lower emotions and desires kicking in based on fear. You become suspicious. But it is exactly that what usually destroys the relationship. It is exactly that what usually destroys both people's happiness. So not easy, and it's something that we learn by making very big mistakes in life. But keep in mind, next time when you suffer, try to remember what this was about. Because the suffering is always caused by conditions. From either side. Try to understand also, in this light, that relationships are most of the times karmic relationships. You feel attracted to a certain person because that person fills in a hole that you have. That person fills in a blank, that something that you are lacking. But that automatically means karmic relationship is based on dependence. Often karmic relationship is very passionate, but it also causes tremendous suffering. Now we have talked about suffering before, haven't we? What is the purpose of suffering? It is our teacher. So whenever we find ourselves in a karmic relationship, characteristic of which is not only the passion but the tremendous suffering that comes inevitably from it, is that it teaches us something very essential about ourselves. In my case, my conclusion every time was, I need to be more independent. And as a foreigner in Korea, not being 100% fluent in the language, that was very difficult. It looks like the universe put me in a situation even 100 times more complicated than I had at home, just to challenge me. So what did I do? I went to school to study Korean. Again and again, whenever I had time, found time, I would register for a study in Korean. And the last time, from 2012 until 2015, I studied Kumon. You know what is Kumon? That's a method for elementary school children, which you have in math, in science, but also Kugo, national language, Korean language. And for me, those 3 years, I learned more than the years that I spent in university studying Korean, in class. But I had that Kumon I had to do on my own. But every day an hour approximately, I would study, and for 3 years. And that allowed me to be able to do things that before I needed my karmic partner for. And I lost more hair. There's nothing left anymore. But now I'm at the point I'm independent. I don't really need anybody. And that is very refreshing because it opens the door to a non-karmic relationship, one that may not be so incredibly passionate, but also one that will be free from all kind of turmoil that is accompanied in a karmic relationship. Stability, it will give stability and long-term perspective. You understand a little bit the concept of unconditional love? If you're a teacher, that is what you give to your students. You invest in your students because you, as a teacher, you see your students further down the road. you want to really add something to their development, what do you get in return? The satisfaction that you actually make a difference. But you should actually do it from the heart, for naught, without expecting anything in return. Mother Teresa, you give. Don't worry, the universe will take care of you. That sounds ridiculous, but I'm a very down to the ground yogi, and I have very clearly seen, experienced that the universe takes care. But God helps only those who help themselves. You must actively engage. You cannot just sit down and say, okay, I will just wait until the universe helps me or God helps me, because it's never going to happen. You have to work. You have to overcome challenges. You have to look in the mirror, learn from the obstacles and mistakes that happen, the conflicts that occur, because that is where you grow. That is where you really evolve. It sounds a little bit obvious, but most people are not in a process like that, because we get stuck in the grind of daily life, in the material world. Now we come to the symbol of the deer in the chakra. The symbol of the deer in the chakra represents alertness. A deer is an animal that barely sleeps. Eyes are very big and very sensitive. The least movement in its surroundings will make it alert and evade danger, run away. Why alertness? Well, if you listen between the lines, the story that I told you is that a human being just naturally functions, for the most part, on a subconscious level, which then leads to all kinds of complications, suffering, that could have been avoided if only we were aware. So that is the meaning of the deer in the heart chakra, is urging us to be more aware. Develop consciousness. And your yoga practice naturally leads to increased consciousness, awareness. But it is a long-term process, and it is a process of going up and down, because a human being has a natural tendency to go back to functioning subconsciously. And every time you experience pain, the deer opens its eyes and says, oh, I made a mistake again. What is it trying to tell me? What is my misery trying to tell me? My suffering trying to tell me? That is the deer in you. The deer in you must be alert. And when not alert, when hit by any kind of pain, any kind of suffering, immediately open your eyes and say, hey, what's going on? Why? What did I do? What could I have done better? What is here for me to learn from this? This is important. The symbolism of this deer in the heart chakra is very important, because as a yogi, you become more and more susceptible to misery, to suffering. You become more and more sensitive and conscious. And that automatically means receiving more misery, more suffering. But instead of looking at that from a negative point of view, we look at it from a positive point of view, because we know that if we stay alert, we actually learn and grow from those events. That is the whole purpose. Misery is not designed to make us miserable. That is what normal people think, so we drown ourselves in the misery. Some people even kind of enjoy their misery. A lot of music has been written about misery, and people wail in that kind of music. For us, misery is our teacher. It's a process of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So you're constantly going up. Can it be avoided? Can it not just be only going forward instead of 2 steps forward, 1 step back? No. You know why? Because 2 steps forward, things are going well, you fall asleep. You stop paying attention, you stop being alert. So things go well, and then you become comfortable. And you stop being alert, bam! Immediately you're hit with some kind of failure, some kind of conflict, some kind of misery, only to open up your eyes again. So you have 1 step back, that is the moment of misery that you experience, but because you pay attention, you are allowed to be going 2 steps forward again. So if you think of this, you think, oh my God, life is so tiresome. But that's what life is about, if you don't just want to fall asleep. Another interesting symbol of the heart chakra is the Star of David, which most people don't understand properly, but is in fact a sophisticated yin and yang model. The triangle that points down represents Shiva energy, which you know by now flows from the top to the bottom. Shiva energy. Shakti energy is represented by the triangle that points up, because Shakti energy flows from the bottom up. But why in the heart? The heart chakra in most people doesn't function. If it functions, it's often on a very low level of energy. But you can imagine, if you understand the qualities, the value of the heart chakra, how important it is to work towards opening up of the heart for any spiritual practitioner. I said that this is an alternative yin and yang model. Why? Because it represents Shiva and Shakti energy coming into harmony. That is why the triangles are overlapping with each other, coming into harmony, not just anywhere, but in the heart. What happens when the heart opens is that you become bliss, you become Ananda. So advanced yogis, traditionally yogis change their name over time in line with their development. It's like when you practice karate, you get a white belt, and when you reach a little higher level, you get a yellow belt, and then a blue belt, and a etc. Until you reach a black belt, and then you have steps further, first dan, second dan. In yoga, you don't have belts, your name changes, indicating the level that you have reached. One of the highest levels is Ananda. It's when the heart is wide open. and you are pure love, that is when the heart has opened as a result of sattva, the level of the heart chakra. With that, of course, all the other chakras are naturally sattvic. The crown chakra is fully functioning. You have become a Raja or a Raj. Wisdom, possessing wisdom, vision, intuition, and unconditional love, capable of unconditional love. Love. There are people who fall in love, get hurt, and they say, this is not for me. I will never fall in love anymore. I will not allow myself to fall in love anymore. Why do we do that? To protect ourselves from the pain. However, I'm advising you to fall in love. Why? Because it presents huge growth potential. Try to see it like that. Why am I telling you this? Because if you understand the purpose of the pain, you stop seeing it in a negative way. You stop seeing it as something that needs to be avoided. It will make you stronger, wiser, more independent, and with that, capable of unconditional love further down the road. Instead of avoiding love to avoid pain, just try to approach it in a sensible way. Be careful, and when pain occurs as a result, learn from it. Be the deer in the heart chakra. Learn from it and grow. I haven't had many relationships in my life, but the few that I had, a couple, I can very clearly see a pattern where I've grown each time I messed up. I'm not blaming anybody for the misery that I experienced, because I understand it's my process. Instead, I feel sorry for the people that had to live with that, that had to be subjected to that process that I'm in by falling in love with me. Can you see the growth potential there? If you find it difficult to see yet, then first apply it to relationships that have existed in the past and see what there is to gain from that, what there is to learn from that. Okay, questions? Yes?
So when there are people that you've loved and that you've let go of, what do you do with those feelings when you miss them? Like, do you ever miss anybody, for example, from your life? And how do you manage those feelings? Because it brings pain. Yeah.
But I don't understand the question.
So I guess when you do love somebody unconditionally and you're able to let them go.
Yes. And you meet them again later?
No, it's just throughout the rest of your life, maybe you think about them, or maybe you kind of reminisce, and it brings like these heavy feelings. What do you do with those feelings?
Appreciation. Because you know that the fact that you were able to extend unconditional love to them, they were able to grow further. Because you realize that if you had kept them with you, which is the normal way of dealing with relationship, you would have limited their growth. There's one thing. Unconditional love does not mean promiscuity. Unconditional love does not mean to allow yourself to be used, or your unconditional love to be used by people who just abuse that kind of quality. One time, long time ago, I got the question from a female student who said, okay, I think I'm relatively capable of unconditional love, but I feel like I'm being used as a doormat. That, of course, is not unconditional love. If you feel that you're being used, the person that is using you as a doormat is not worthy of your love. Because unconditional love does not mean putting aside your dignity. The person that is worthy of your love needs to deserve that love. Must be able to not abuse your ability to love unconditionally. That's something we all have to learn. I have felt that I have experienced that the best way to love unconditionally is to give love without relationship. So to give love to people who need love without automatically that ending up in a personal relationship or a love relationship. That is not easy, but very grateful. Follow your feeling in this regard. If you feel people are taking advantage of you, that is not yoga. There are a lot of sects. There are a lot of spiritual groups, sects that proclaim unconditional love. But under the banner of unconditional love, it leads to abuse, invariably of the female members of the sect, often even children, under the guise of unconditional love. Unconditional love is being abused as an excuse for sexual abuse. That is just totally, that should never be condoned. Many abuse scandals do occur in those kind of circles. Do not ever let anybody talk you into something like that under the guise of unconditional love, because it totally isn't. Okay, let's have a short break.